You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Glad you can join me. Thank you for being here on another episode of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast to your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Go to the Facebook page to get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. I won't take up much more of your time. Let's get into it. All right, so I'm just going to dive right into it. Before I dive into it, I want to say happy holidays to everybody out there. We've gotten past the Thanksgiving and Black Friday part of the holidays, and hopefully your Thanksgiving was spectacular. Mine's was not that great. I don't know what it is about women, but when women get upset, they hold a grudge. I mean, if they can hold a grudge for years. So I give you a quick story of my Thanksgiving. My Thanksgiving was terrible. Just flat out terrible. I didn't eat Thanksgiving dinner until probably around 9 o'clock Thursday night. So this started a couple days before Thanksgiving. My girlfriend got into it with her sister and a couple of her family members. So there was like bad blood leading up to Thanksgiving. You know, I didn't know how bad it was, really. I'll even tell you that before Thanksgiving that there was a fight I had to break up. I'm too old to be breaking up fights, people. Too old. Too old, okay? So, because my girlfriend got into it with a family member of hers, you know, some people, you know, they didn't want to spend Thanksgiving with others, and me and my girlfriend, we both worked third shift. We worked the graveyard shift. So she gets home a little after me. So she's home around 10, 11 a.m. So I thought she was going to throw the turkey into the oven and then, you know, she can go to sleep for, you know, a few hours. That wasn't the case. So she had her mom come over, and her mom made some side dishes, you know, Thanksgiving side dishes, you know, to go along with the turkey. And it had to be about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I didn't watch much of the Lions and Texans game. I caught the Dallas and Washington game. So I know this was late in the afternoon because her mom asked me about the turkey. And I'm like, well, I thought, you know, that my girlfriend was going to handle that. But apparently she wasn't. She was still upset of what happened a couple days earlier, you know. So her mom ended up putting the turkey in the oven, and that had to be around 5 o'clock in the evening. Turkey wasn't done until later that evening. And so me, her son, and her mom, the three of us, you know, we ate Thanksgiving dinner together, and we made the best of it. It's crazy how women, the grudges they hold against, it doesn't even have to be a random person on the street. It can be family. Women will hold grudges until their death. So that's how my Thanksgiving went. I hope your Thanksgiving went a lot smoother than mine's. So, well, I don't have to worry about that with Christmas. No one will be over at my house at Christmas. That will be strictly me, girlfriend, and the kids. All right. So, again, I hope your Thanksgiving was better than mine's, and we shall move on. A lot going on in the sports world. You know what? I don't want to start off in the NFL. Let's start off with the NBA. Now, the New Orleans Pelicans all-star forward. It's kind of weird saying that. All-star forward for this guy. New Orleans Pelicans all-star forward Brandon Ingram. He has agreed to a 5-year, $158 million max contract extension. Now, Ingram came on last season in New Orleans after arriving as part of the trade that sent Anthony Davis to the Lakers. Ingram, who is now 23 years old, set career highs by averaging 23 points, 6 boards, 4 assists per game. He also became an all-star last year for the first time and was named the NBA's most improved player. So, pretty much, last season, yeah. He also shot 46% from the field last season. So, look, I think that's great news if you're a Pelicans fan. If you're a Pelican fan, you should really be confident in the way the organization is going. You hire Van Gundy, Stan Van Gundy, to be the coach. As I've said before, as long as he is not a president or GM and he is just coaching, Van Gundy is one of the best coaches in the NBA. And you have Zion coming back for hopefully a healthy full season to be right there with Ingram and Lonzo Ball. He will be fighting for a contract extension this season himself. So the New Orleans Pelicans are going in the right direction. Big ups to Brandon Ingram for getting his money, and he is going to be a wealthy man. In other NBA news, the Los Angeles Lakers have signed a 2-year deal with center Marc Gasol. Now, to make this thing happen, the Lakers ended up trading JaVale McGee and a future second-round pick to the Cleveland Cavaliers to help make room for Gasol. Now, Cleveland is sending Jordan Bell and Alfonso McKinney to the Lakers in the deal. Now, Gasol, the signing will be equivalent of the veteran's minimum salary for a player with 10-plus years of service in the league of $2.56 million per year. Now, in Paul Gasol, you know this, the Lakers, they bring in a former All-Star to fill the void in the middle created by the departure of JaVale McGee, who they just traded off, and Dwight Howard, who just signed with the 76ers as a free agent. Now, ironically, we all know that Gasol's brother, Pau Gasol, played for the Lakers, but I just learned something. I didn't know that Mark was drafted by the Lakers in 2007, but had his rights traded to Memphis for his brother. So I never knew this. I knew that Pau had played for the Grizzlies, and Mark grew up in Memphis. I believe Mark actually went to high school in Memphis, while Pau was with the Grizzlies. I had no idea that the Lakers actually drafted Mark and then traded for Pau to get him. Now, Marc Gasol will be looking to win his second NBA championship. He won his first with the Raptors 2 seasons ago after Toronto landed him from the Grizzlies in a midseason trade. Gasol spent his first 10 seasons of his career in Memphis. Kind of had a down year last year. You know, he's much older. Last year wasn't really typical Marc Gasol numbers. Marc Gasol put up 7 points, 6 boards per game. Played in 44 games. Remember, it was a short season for teams, but he did play in the bubble. But for his career, he's averaging 14 points and 7 boards a game. Another big man has found a home. Also, former NBA All-Star center DeMarcus Cousins has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Houston Rockets. Now, the Rockets were limited to the offering of the veteran's minimum to Cousins, who missed all of last season with a torn ACL in his left knee. And that happened right when he signed with the Lakers. Now, Cousins, who is now 30 years old, was a 4-time All-Star with the Sacramento Kings and New Orleans Pelicans, and has career averages of 21 points, 10 boards, 3 assists a game. Now, Gasol. I'm still stuck on Gasol. I'm sorry about that, but DeMarcus Cousins is saying that he's grateful for the opportunity and he is excited for what's ahead. Now, the thing with Cousins is, though, his career has been interrupted by a series of serious injuries over the past 3 years. Cousins ruptured his Achilles tendon in February of 2018 while playing with the Pelicans in a win over the Rockets. Now, the injury caused his value in free agency to plummet. Cousins signed with the Golden State Warriors for $5.3 million that summer, coming off the Achilles injury. Now, Cousins missed much of that season with the Warriors while in rehab for his Achilles injuries and was sidelined for much of the playoff run with the Warriors with a torn quadricep. Now, he averaged 16 points, 8 boards, 3 assists in 30 games with the Warriors. And after committing to full-time small ball in the middle of last season, starting 6'5" P.J. Tucker at center, the Rockets have agreed to deals this offseason with a pair of centers who have been prolific scorers. Now, Houston agreed with former Detroit Pistons center Christian Wood on a 3-year, $41 million contract in the opening hours of free agency on Friday. Now, Christian Wood averaged he's 25 years old, and he averaged 13 points a game last season, including 21 points per game during a 12-game stint as a starter after the Pistons traded Andre Drummond. And I've seen some of Christian Wood's game. I like his game. He is very underrated for a big man. I don't know how he flew under the radar that he has, but I'm telling you, watch out for Christian Wood. Now, and that might have been a problem. He was playing up in Detroit. Now people will see him in Houston. So remember that name, Christian Woods. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen him, go check him out on YouTube. Check out some highlights. I'm telling you, the guy, he has game. All right, so that's pretty much it for the NBA news side of things. Let's switch it over to the NFL. Cincinnati Bengals rookie quarterback Joe Burrow injured multiple ligaments in his left knee on Sunday. Now, an MRI showed that Burrow tore his ACL and MCL and suffered other structural issues. Now, Bengals coach Zach Taylor would not confirm the extent of the knee damage, but said that Burrow would be out for the remainder of the 2020 season. Now, there's no timetable for Burrow. This is what head coach Zach Taylor is saying. Now, the surgery estimate for Burrow's return, aside from some point during the 2021 season. He's expected surgery or a rough estimate for Burrow's return. So, in a tweet on Sunday afternoon, Burrow said, "See you next year," suggesting that his 2020 season was done. Cincinnati officially placed this year's top overall draft pick on injury reserve on Monday. Now, Burrow was carted off the field in the third quarter of Sunday's 20-9 loss at Washington. Burrow suffered the injury after he was sandwiched by 2 Washington defenders who converged on him on a 3rd-and-2 pass attempt. His numbers weren't that bad this year. I mean, he threw for 2,600 yards, almost 2,700 yards, 13 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, and 89 QBR. And if you listen to me, you know how I am. As far as football goes, any sport, don't turn the ball over. If you want to stay out there on the field or on the floor, don't turn the ball over. And when you do that, you're okay in my book. You can make other stuff happen. So, not a happy trails to Joe Burrow, but what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what I'm looking for, but look, I wish Joe Burrow nothing but the best. I hope he gets back soon. That's one of those things I wouldn't wish on anybody, but a lot of guys now can come back from those ACLs, but they said there was other structural damage with his knee, so hopefully it's nothing that keeps him from continuing his career. I think the Bengals have a quarterback. I like Joe Burrow. I think they have a QB, and as soon as he gets past this ACL injury, I think Joe Burrow will be fine. Will be back to his normal playing self. Now, moving on, we had some Turkey Day football. I won't get into the games because the games were horrible. Matt Patricia was fired today. He should have been fired. 13-29-1. I'm still wondering why Jim Caldwell was fired. Can someone tell me why Caldwell was fired? 36-28. 36-28. Matt Patricia lost more games than Caldwell. And we have to say this now. Bill Belichick's assistants are horrible. I'll say this. They're horrible when they become head coaches in the NFL. A lot of them have gone on to have success in the college ranks, such as a Nick Saban. You remember when Nick Saban took over the Miami Dolphins? And, that's all I got to say. Just, and then he went over to Alabama after he left the Dolphins because he knew the NFL, that just wasn't working out for him. I also read, though, that Nick Saban said that was one of the worst times of his life when he was coaching under Bill Belichick in Cleveland, the original Browns. You know, when the original Browns went to Baltimore and became the Ravens, they did not retain the services of Nick Saban. But just to throw out some names at you, Bill O'Brien wasn't that bad of a coach until the last 2 seasons. And maybe not even last year, because Houston got to the playoffs last year. They were a playoff team, got to the divisional round. I don't know what happened with him and DeAndre Hopkins, the beef there. And he ended up trading him for an old Sega Genesis cartridge. You know, I don't know what that was about, but that ultimately cost him his job, you know, with the spiraling out of control that the Houston Texans are. Even though they beat the Lions on Thanksgiving Day, Bill O'Brien, he's a part of that Belichick coaching tree, and just has not done a great job as a head coach in the NFL. Romeo Crennel, who is now acting as coach, the interim coach for the Houston Texans, he has a bad track record as well. I've mentioned Nick Saban. Charlie Weiss, do you guys remember Charlie Weiss, head coach of Notre Dame? He didn't have that great of a success when he left Belichick and the Patriots. Eric Mangini, we know what happened when he went to the Jets. You know, no need to dwell on that. Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels was bad when he left the Patriots. He ended up going back to the Patriots. So the Belichick coaching tree, outside of Bill Parcells, and I guess you can't even say that that's Belichick's coaching tree when you bring in Parcells, because Belichick was on Bill Parcells' staff winning those Super Bowls with the New York Giants. But Bill Belichick's his assistants that he has had work under him, they have been horrible head coaches in the NFL. All right, so I wanted to preview a couple of games. Some of the games that are noteworthy, like the Titans tomorrow. They will be at the Indianapolis Colts. Now, both teams come in 7-3. Now, the last time these two teams met, Phillip Rivers threw for 308 yards, 1 touchdown, had a QBR of 105, and last week had a big game against the Green Bay Packers, throwing for 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, 107 QBR rating. Rivers has been on fire as of late, you know, so that's something to think about. Now, the Titans defense, they give up 267 yards passing a game, which is 27th worst in the league. and you're running into a sizzling hot Phillip Rivers. Now, on the other side of the ball for the Titans, they have that bison, Derrick Henry. Henry leads the league in rushing with he's over the 1,000 yard mark, 1,079 yards, 9 touchdowns. But the run for me sets up the pass, but the Colts defense, they only give up just over 200 yards passing a game at 208. So they're a stifling defense, so I think it's going to be a good game. I think the Phillip Rivers, the on fire streak, I think that continues. I think the Colts will end up winning at home. Now, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. The COVID-19 outbreak in Baltimore has led the NFL to postgame the Baltimore Ravens-Pittsburgh Steelers game for a second time. Now, the Ravens will now play at the undefeated Steelers on Tuesday night at 8 Eastern. Baltimore was scheduled to play host to the Cowboys on Thursday night, but that game has also been moved to Monday, December 7th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Now, this is the third time in the Super Bowl era that an NFL game will be played on a Tuesday. Now, it happened in Week 5 this season when the Buffalo Bills went to the Tennessee Titans to play them. That was the game where Henry took the soul of Josh Norman. That happened in Week 5 this year. Bills at Titans, the game which was postponed because of a coronavirus outbreak in Tennessee. Now, it also occurred in 2010 when a blizzard in Philadelphia shifted an Eagles and Vikings game. Now, with Lamar Jackson quarantining for 10 days, quarterback Robert Griffin III will start against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Jackson will be available to start against the Cowboys if he tests negative by next week. That means Jackson would have to only miss one game. You got to say thanks to the rescheduling of the NFL. But, look, it doesn't matter what happens. Steelers are going to win this game. I'm not even going to go into stats and what I think is going to happen. I just think Pittsburgh is on a mission right now. Lamar Jackson is struggling throwing the ball. I believe Mark Ingram won't be playing either because of the COVID-19. So Baltimore is really shorthanded. And look, Steelers win no matter what. All right, moving on. Bucs and Chiefs. Another good game. All right, so I know you look at Tom Brady. If you watch the game, don't look at the stats. Look at the game. Brady didn't really have a good game. But I'm not really concerned about Tom Brady. Tom Brady has thrown for 25 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions this season, and has a QBR of 95. Now, the thing for me is Ronald Jones III. That's what I worry about. He's only averaging 68 yards a game, 5 touchdowns this season. I thought he was going to come on a little more than what he has. And he's picking up good yardage a run. But, the Chiefs defense gives up 133 yards rushing a game. That's 26th worst in the league. And that's why I think that Ronald Jones, if the Bucs are going to have any type of chance, Ronald Jones has to get the run game going. Now, on the flip side, the Bucs defense has 14 interceptions, which is second in the league, 50 pass deflections, which is 6th in the league, 32 sacks, which is 3rd in the league, and the Bucs defense is number 1 against the rush, only giving up 73 yards a game. The Bucs defense is the truth. I mean, that defense is going to keep them in any game. They're going to be tested, though. They're going to be tested. Patrick Mahomes comes in throwing for 303 yards a game, 27 touchdown passes to get this now. Listen to this. 2 interceptions thrown all year. Both interceptions against the Las Vegas Raiders. So you pretty much got to play for the Raiders if you want to get a pick on them. But only 2 INTs, both against the Raiders. The Bucs defense will be tested, and Patrick Mahomes' arm will be tested. I'm looking forward to it. I know Bruce Arians is in the media calling out Tom Brady. I can care less. He's a 6-time Super Bowl winning champion. He's earned the right to pretty much do what he wants to do and, not chastise him because he didn't have a good game. Great game. If I got to pick a winner, I'm still picking the Chiefs. I know the game was in Tampa, but I'm still picking Kansas City. All right. So, yeah. Also, I saw some breaking news tonight. The Broncos, all 4 quarterbacks for the Broncos are ruled ineligible for the game tomorrow against the New Orleans Saints. So, I don't know who's playing QB. Maybe they'll put me out there. Maybe John Elway will go out there. I saw Von Miller, who has renamed himself Von Elway, wants a shot at quarterback. But whoever it is, if you ever seen the movie Teen Movie, I need for the Broncos coach to be just like him, where he's yelling at Wilder. He's yelling at him. We got this G blank game wrapped up. All you got to do is run out the clock. Don't try nothing fancy. But what does Wilder do when he goes out there? He tries something fancy, and yeah, it cost him the game. Well, I don't think it cost him the game. They scored the touchdown, but it was bad. If you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. Not another teen movie. One of my favorite movies when I was growing up. When I was a young lad, when I was a teenager, I believe. I think I was a teenager. I think I was like senior year in high school. Something like that. Anyway. So we were just talking about the Broncos having their quarterbacks ineligible against the Saints. And speaking of the Saints, I wanted to just touch on them for a quick second. Last Sunday, they played my Atlanta Falcons. As a Falcon fan, I am disappointed. I don't really have much to say about my Falcons. When a team tells you that we're starting a guy named Taysom Hill, who is pretty much a Swiss Army knife, when you think about a player that plays football that can do a little bit of everything. I thought it was disrespectful by Sean Payton for starting him, but apparently Sean Payton knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. And my Falcons, they laid down. The defense, there was no defense. And I don't know what to say about my Atlanta Falcons. I'm at the point now where I never thought I would say this. If they can tear it all down. Trade Julio, get some picks. Trade Matt Ryan, get some picks. Let Raheem Morris go. I thought he might be the guy. Even though he has the interim tag now, I thought he could be the guy. Let him go. Let's just start over, build this thing over. That's just where I'm at with it. I'm over with whatever the Falcons are doing. So yeah. So some of you might not want to hear about the Falcons, but I'm a huge Atlanta fan. I live in Atlanta, so I talk about Atlanta sports from time to time. If you're new to the podcast, I normally would call this section the part of the show All Things Atlanta. But the Falcons just let me down last week. I have no hope for this team. Burn it down, start over. And yeah. And speaking of start over, the NBA preseason schedules have come out. My Atlanta Hawks, they will be playing only 2 teams but 4 games in the preseason. They'll be playing the Orlando Magic and the Memphis Grizzlies before the season kicks off later on December the 22nd. I see some people say that the Hawks made some good moves and they are going to be a playoff team. Let me tell you this. As a Hawks fan, I will believe it when I see it. I'm not going to say they made this and that and whatever. I mean, they're okay moves, but, I can see them working. I mean, remember, it was just, 4 or 5 years ago when we had Paul Millsap and Al Horford, Kyle Korver, DeMar Carroll, Jeff Teague. 4 of those guys made the All-Star team in the East. So I'm not going to say it's not going to work. I'm just not going to believe the hype or jump on that bandwagon or drink that Kool-Aid, until I actually see what the Hawks put on the floor work. That's all I'm saying. That's all. Hey, look, that's all I got for you today, folks. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Make sure you go to the Facebook page, get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. You've been listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. And remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.